Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or evening, or whatever it might happen to be in your neck of the woods. How is everybody today? That's good to hear. Okay, first things first. Can you guys hear the music? Can you guys hear my voice? Is one overpowering the other? Ooh, that's not good, Songbird. Okay, my voice is pretty low. I'm not sure what I can do with that. I have everything maxed out on my voice. Make sure I have everything maxed out on my voice. Let's see, that's maxed. The gain here is maxed. I'm not sure what else I can do voice-wise, unfortunately. What I can do is lower the music volume just a little bit and ask you guys to raise your volume. I guess that would have to do. Let's try that. And I'll try to speak a little louder as I go, too. So we'll see if that works. So, where are we? It is day 9 of summer camp. First thing I did, just out of curiosity this morning, I did a little diving into the submissions, and because it's the kind of thing I do. Well, why did that do that? There we go. I just wanted to take a quick look at the counts, at the numbers of things that are going on, and it's interesting because the last two prompts that I haven't hit yet are the myth and the item, and today we're actually going to be working on the myth on this stream. The myth is about the item. I have a pretty good idea what I'm doing with the item. I just need some details that hopefully the myth will help work out. But looking at the numbers for everybody in summer camp, first of all, we have just shy of, or probably have around 300 people in summer camp this year. Now, I wasn't there last year, but I don't know how many you had altogether in prior years. Is 300 an increase? Is it a small increase? Is it a huge increase? The other thing I see interesting is that, you know, you can kind of tell what articles people are having trouble with. The ones down near the bottom, I noticed the counterculture seems to be giving lots of people problems. I know I see that in the chat a lot as well. But counterculture is running a good 100 entries behind the leader of the pack, which is the myth about the item. And document building in person aren't too much farther ahead of that. So it's just curious to see which ones people either are holding off on or are having trouble tackling or are afraid to tackle, or perhaps they're just holding on to them to see what other prompts come later in the camp, because I know there's a lot of that kind of gaming going on as well, with, you know, waiting to see how you can interact certain prompts with other prompts and things. So, like I said, I just thought that was curious. So how many of you folks have finished your myth and item? We'll make that go away. Has anybody finished their myth and item? Let's see. Okay, Badger's Time has done both. Isaac, oh, hello Isaac. Haven't done your myth yet, but its corresponding item is done. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what my item is. I know what my item is going to be, and I know how it's going to figure roughly in the myth. But until I finish the details of the myth, I can't finish the details of the item, and that'll all make sense in a second as I start to talk it out, because I'm actually hoping to get a couple of good ideas from you folks today as we get started. So, looking down my list, the last two I have left are the myth and the item. I mentioned in one of my earlier chats, I try to make use of the good old to-do list here to see what's done, and I like to see all of those check marks. And the only two that don't have check marks are the myth and the item. But I do have titles for them. So, without further ado, let me bring up the myth, which is what we're going to be working on today. Okay. I've started to do my usual. Oh, maybe I didn't. I did it on the item. I didn't do it here. So those of you who have followed my other streams, the first thing I like to do on all of these prompts is take a run through the template itself to see what it is that the template suggests or hints. And I also like to just throw a word or two into each one of these little boxes so that I can get a feel for how the article is going to look when it's finished. So we want a summary of the myth, we want the historical basis of the myth, how widespread, common, so that's what that one's asking. Are there variations? That's an interesting question, because mine is going to be based, at least based somewhat in history. So it's going to be more of a legend than a myth, I guess. Cultural reception. That one's going to be interesting too. I don't know about it being in literature, but it is actually, it's certainly in the culture. Date of recording. I'm going to just put the word date here for now. Now again, I'm expecting that's going to end up in the sidebar. Appearance and art. When did it supposedly take place? And then we have in the Relations tab, telling related prose. So is this going to be a whole prose article that actually has the myth itself, perhaps? I'm not sure. Related people. Related ethnicities, related species, locations. Alright, we're going to have a whole bunch of these. I mean, I could probably fill a whole bunch of these, but I have a feeling that these are all going to show up in the sidebar, and probably in a way that I'm not particularly thrilled with. But let's see what we have so far before I play with those at all. Do a quick preview. Okay, the two dates show up in the sidebar. I'm not surprised about that. Everything else shows up down here. I think the one I do want to play with and see what it does, though, just out of curiosity, even though it's going to force me to do something here. This is going to create a prose article, isn't it? Obviously, I can change that or play with it later. Let's see what that does. And I'm wondering if it's going to do something like the document template has. No, okay, it just put something in the sidebar. What I was looking to see was, those of you who've played with the document template know that there's a button that actually appears above the sidebar that lets you pop out the document itself. So I was wondering if that's what this was going to do, or if it was just going to do something a little more mundane like that. So now I know. Like I said, I'm going to assume that pretty much everything else... Hello, come on. Come on, Firefox. There we go. I'm going to assume that everything else is gonna, all those little guys are gonna show up in the sidebar. Let me do a quick look at the chat and see who's talking about who. Samurai, how's your tea? I'm still working on my morning coffee. I haven't done it yet. Songbird, that's what I did for this one. Just told a narrative. Just told a narrative going through the legend. Yeah, it looks like they kind of want the whole legend itself in a separate prose article, and I guess that makes sense. It'll actually give you the opportunity to really format that nicely. And this article is more the, I guess, the meta information for the myth itself. So maybe that's the approach we'll take. I mean, there is a summary of the myth. That is one of the sections, so we'll do that. So I guess that also means that the vignette is going to just basically be an introduction to the meta. So let's get started there. And I have been finally settling on a more or less standard format for these things. So the first thing I have to do in the vignette is set up a couple of sections that I use all the time. Make sure I got the names of my sections right. I do this a lot, by the way. First of all, it makes me save frequently, which is always a good thing. But I like to pop back and forth and see how things look as I go, too. So let's see. Hey, I got those right. It looks silly now, but once there's a real vignette in there, that won't look like that. What's the other thing I always do first? Oh yes, this is what I always do first. Not that. Sections. I like to start all of my articles with a quote. And I like my quote to appear above and crossing the sidebars. And for those of you who haven't played with this, the credits section is the section that appears just below the title and just above the main body and the sidebar. So I use the credits for this, and I put the credits, when I have real credits, in the full width footer. So I'm going to just leave her a little reminder in there for that. Quote. And again, this is a format that I've been using everywhere else. So I'm not sure what that quote's going to be yet, but there's going to be one here. I'll throw a placeholder in there. That'll remind me I need to do that. Songbird, yeah. The sections is a very handy area. I don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody, I think all the guild members have access to this. I don't think it's anything that's unique to Grandmaster. But there's a couple of things that everybody should be familiar with. The sidebar top and bottom lets you kind of control stuff you put here. Just to show you, that stuff is going to appear. Actually, this stuff is going to appear above the paneled sidebar. So there's four places in the sidebar that you can play with, and they are the sidebar top and bottom, which are outside that paneled section that appears in the sidebar, and then the sidebar content panel top and content panel bottom, and you can kind of control whether the stuff you include ends up above or below the automatic stuff. So if I save this now and then jump across to here and refresh, we'll see that alright, again, you can put stuff up above the panel. You can put stuff at the beginning of the panel ahead of all of the automatic stuff that comes from the template. You can put something below all the automatic stuff that comes from the template. You can put something below the entire panel itself. All right, so those pieces are all there. I will often, especially I try to end up with a balanced article. Balanced visually, so if stuff gets, and this one is going to be a good candidate for it. If stuff gets too lengthy in the left side of the main body, and there isn't much useful stuff in the sidebar, I might take some of the shorter sections that appear here and basically kill them in the main body, but actually recreate them in the side panel. You have to do a little extra manual work to do that, but the end result, I think, looks better sometimes. So, let me just get rid of all that extra garbage now. Not sure why the scroll bar stops working sometimes. Had that happen last time too. By the way, before I forget, music. Anybody here? I know Isaac. I know you do. Anybody here that uses Pretzel Rock for their music? You're listening to Pretzel Rock right now. I do not have a premium account, so I'm supposed to be broadcasting all of the song name changes in my chat, and I can't for the life of me figure out how to make that happen. So I don't want to spend time on it now, but if anybody can give me a hand with that, just give me a quick note and I'll get in touch with you after the stream or sometime later. if they want to come and get me on this stream, they're welcome to do so. But I would appreciate any help from anybody on that, because I am trying to get everything set up correctly and cleanly. Alright, so we're going to leave all the rest of that alone. Let's get back to the myth. Oh, one other, while I'm going through the walkthrough of all the different sections, for those of you who are not familiar, under the design tab, there's a couple of things that are useful. One is, again, if you're gonna put a specific image header on the article alone, this is the place you do it. The other is this guy, this mouse over snippet. If you noticed, for example, when I come over here, my performance is doing terrible right now. Come on. You guys are all familiar. If you hover over something, you can either have a tooltip enabled to it for it, or if you turn on tooltips for the entire world, you'll get a summary, basically the title of the article and a subset of the vignette or the excerpt will appear here. But if you want to have even more control than that, you can. And you do that by playing with this section called mouse over snippet. So, for example, everything should be saved here. If I jump over to here, and I edit that article, the prose article that got created for the myth itself. And I jump into the mouse over snippet for that article. Does that one not get a mouse over snippet? Do prose articles not get a mouse over snippet? Look at that. But you get an excerpt. That's interesting. It's not somewhere else, is it? Those are the normal ones. I'm surprised. Let's try that. No, that doesn't do it. That's interesting. Okay, so I learned something new. The prose article does not give you the same control for mouse overs that everything else does. That is interesting. I'll get a chance to show you later how that works, because I know there's going to be another one or two of those little bits in here that get filled in. So look at this. I managed to go through the first half hour of my stream, and I have not written a single word. I do not want to be messing with this, so let's get back to the article itself. Okay. So, the title of my myth, of the myth itself, as you can see from here, is How Philibert Hopesinger Prevented a War. Philibert Hopesinger is a halfling. Philibert Hopesinger is a bard. Philibert Hopesinger is a peaceful kind of guy, and he lived at a time, and again, this is ancient history for the world that I'm building, but he lived at a time where there was a war brewing between humans and dwarves over the access rights to a mountain range area that was very, very rich in metal deposits. The humans decided they needed access to the iron and steel to make weapons so they could beat up on some of their other neighbors. The dwarves, who had been living in the area for thousands of years before humans even existed on the world, felt that it was their iron, and they had traded for it for a long time, but somebody in the human side decided that either they didn't like the trade deal they had, or they could do better if they tried to get a little uppity. So there's an imminent war between this dwarven enclave and the local human kingdom, and along comes this halfling who, with the assistance of a wondrous magical item that he has in his possession, manages to get the leaders of the two groups together at the table, and manages to help them see that an all-out war was not the right way to solve things, and that some sort of amicable agreement was a much better way to do it. So that's the gist of the myth that I want to portray. Obviously, some of the important bits for the purposes of this exercise and for the purposes of telling a good story, there needs to be something special about that magical device that Philibert has. What it basically is a flagon or a pitcher that is capable of dispensing copious quantities of any of a number of liquids, depending on what he wants or what the bearer of the thing wants. Those of you who have played Dungeons and Dragons before might be familiar with an item like this. I would like this one to have a little twist. I'm not quite sure exactly how that twist is going to go. That'll kind of come to me as we go along here. But that twist is the ability for the material that comes out of this not only to be drinkable, but to have additional properties that, you know, either charm properties or persuasion properties that that allow Philibert to kind of make sure that things end up the way he wants them to. And he's not taking sides, by the way. He just doesn't want there to be a war. He's more than happy to let the humans and the dwarves work out whatever kind of trade arrangement or compensation arrangement they feel is fair. He just wants to make sure that at the end everybody's happy and you don't have big ugly battlefields with dead people all over them. So that's his objective. So how do we get started? I guess we can start with waiting for the hourglass to go away. I'm not having any frame rate problems, am I? I can't see my frame rates. That's not what I wanted to do. Frame rate seemed to be okay. That's good. Okay. The legend of Philibert. You know what? Let's. There are several. I'm going to kind of hint that there's more to this guy. Legends. Tales of Philibert. Let's actually make use of the purple button. Thank you, Janet. Philibert Hopesinger is a character. I'm not going to bother putting anything in here yet. Don't need to do all of those. Let's create the article. Let's grab a link. Way now that exists. Oh, come on. Myths. Magical. And I do have a, again, I have a link for the flagon. So I can get rid of that. Halfling averted a war. By this is a tough one. I've been having a lot of trouble with these. Ooh, we have some new people. Oh, by the way, writer Greg, yes, hello. I forgot this. I know I saw you came in a long time ago. I should have mentioned something. And Walking Dead Lover. I assume that's a reference to the TV show. I am one of the 3 humans on the planet who have never seen an episode of Walking Dead. But I'm told it's a lot of fun. Who averted a war by bringing the enemies together, making them see. I'm going to probably end up rewriting this a few times, but we'll see. That's not what I want to say. I'm sure that's not going to survive either, but it'll do for now. Let's leave that for now and see if we can go on a little more. Yes, we can get rid of that. I was thinking about other ideas for what legends to do. So I guess here's where we get to the heart of this stuff. The tail. This is going to be interesting because I'm going to actually have to put that tail in that other prose article, which for now has the wrong name. So let me go fix that. Well, that's interesting. Am I going to end up with 2 articles with the same name? What do you folks do if you run into that problem? I'm going to have a myth article that's titled, basically that's got the name of the myth, but then there's going to be a prose article that contains the myth itself. That's going to end up giving me usually put prose or myth at the end of the title. Yeah, that's one way, I guess. The only problem with that is it messes up all the appearance everywhere else. I could tweak the titles a little bit so that I could tell the difference. I mean, when I'm in the editor, I can see which one is prose and which one is myth. So what else do we have in here? Commentary. And that's it. Okay. Let's see how this ends up working with two with the same title. So that's there. See if I come back here, I know I'll be able to tell them apart here because this one says prose and this one says myth. The interesting thing is going to be how it looks when I go to do this. The tale of... Oh good, it does throw the prose and the myth on there at the end too. So I can connect them that way. Do I have an article for the First Kingdom yet? Apparently, well, I'll wait. I do not. How about that? Let's do this one this way. That will be an organization. And the dwarves. Okay. Relates the story of the time when humans and the dwarves nearly came to blows. In fact, all-out war over access rights to the iron ores in the mountains that lie between them. Philibert. Bard. Who was most a lover, not a fighter. persuasion. Also, the magical abilities. We come to possess. This item. Appeared. Now, I don't want to get too much into the description of the item here, obviously, because we have an item article. This item appeared to be simple flagon of the type used to serve quantities ale, mead, or wine as a leave it at that. I need to put a link to the item itself. This is probably as good a place as I need to do that. The link in here. Another trick not everybody is aware of. Once you put those links in, you can change the text that gets highlighted without losing the link. So instead of this saying Philibert's flagon, it's going to just say this item, but if you click on that, you'll get access to the Philibert's flagon article. Appeared to be nothing more than a simple flag. Type used to serve large quantities of wine. I don't like the way this is going here. You also have the ability to enhance it. Walking Dead. Just looking at the chat. Did my stuff get dropped? I had just submitted. I just joined the ASC and submitted my calendar, so it's possible that you caught them in the middle of taking my old stuff off and putting my new stuff on. I won't be able to take a look at that until I finish this stream, obviously. But if that's the case, then I guess bad timing on your part. And if that wasn't the case, yeah, I put my new calendar in late last night, and as of this morning, it hadn't been done. Nothing was done with it yet. So, like I said, it's quite possible that they were simply making that change today. I mean, they're still in the process of getting that Google Calendar all cleaned up. So I'd cut them some slack, at least over the next couple of days, as everybody else gets migrated over to the new method. The original calendar was set up by Shy Red Fox, and I think one other person was tending it. And basically, we were all just sending them notes saying, "I'm going to stream on these days," and Shy was putting entries up in the Google calendars herself, and dealing with all the overlaps and everything else. And it just got to be, all of a sudden everybody seems to be wanting to stream, which is really great. But it got to be too much for them to manage, so they went to this approach where now what we do is we each of us that want to be streamers create our own streaming calendar, our own Google Calendar with our stream schedules. And I guess what they're trying to do is rig up the ASC main calendar so that it basically just shows a collection of all of the individual stream calendar contents. So like I said, it's quite possible that they were taking some things down from the old calendar that will automatically get replaced by the stuff that's in my new calendar. But we won't find that out until later, I guess. And if that's not what's going on, then I'll have to go find out what's going on once I finish up with the stream. Okay, so the item appeared to be nothing more than a simple flagon of the type used to serve large quantities of ale, mead, or wine, in addition to having magical properties that allowed it to pour basically endless quantities of any of these materials. It also had the ability to enhance its refreshments with, how do I want to say this? I need a word here with a something that made the imbibers susceptible to suggestions. Made by Philibert. I need to clean this up a little bit. I'm also trying to walk the line here between writing the whole article in RPG game rule speak and writing it in generic language to make it interesting to people who may not necessarily be playing the game world that I'm playing, because my world of Carterion is an RPG setting first and foremost, but I'm having a lot of fun creating a lot more detail than I'm ever going to need for an RPG game. So who knows what else might come out of this. So anyway, that's a quick description of the item. It was the suggestions that Philibert got. And I'm probably going to replace the leaders of the opposing sides with some names. That they could both conquest. a solid kind of make an allusion to the major catastrophic event that happens in my world sometime after this myth or legend took place. But I like to have everything kind of cycle back to this Great Strife. Great Strife, in a nutshell, was basically when all the gods decided that they were going to start duking it out. And of course, because the gods were duking it out, all of their followers were duking it out. And made major disasters all over the planet. Cities wiped out, cultures wiped out, big changes, the terrain changes, all kinds of good stuff like that. That Great Strife thing took about 100 years and happened about 2,200 years in the past. The current world I'm writing about is a world where, again, that is 2,200 years in the past. The world itself, of course, healed, because worlds always do. The various major races are really just getting back to the expansion and the expansion of civilization, shall we say, that they're kind of recovering back to levels that they had before. They're not quite as far advanced as they had been, but they're starting to get there. But there are also some ominous signs that the same gods that caused trouble, that created the Great Strife, are starting to raise trouble again. So the world might be in order or in line for another downhill occurrence coming soon. So that's my world in a nutshell. I think that'll do for the summary for now. Historical basis. The near war between First Kingdom humans, Iron Hills, dwarves, is an historical fact. Whether or not I'm just going to put a few notes down here. The existence of a noted bard named is also assumed to be historical fact. Whether or not Philibert First Kingdom. Attribute. Name here. Was on a stream last night, and we had a good discussion about what you do when you're not sure whether to put a name in. And some people do what I do, which throw a few question marks in. But W.D. Michael was saying he stopped doing that because once too many, he published articles with question marks still in them that he had completely forgotten about. Sages of the dwarves. Does this sound like a revisionist history happening everywhere, by the way? More name there. But everybody else, especially every halfling, that has ever told a tale will swear that the legend is true. I'm gonna kind of leave that at that for now. How widespread is it? Probably because of the human and dwarven sages mentioned earlier. This legend is not often heard in either the First Kingdom or the Iron Hills Delve, unless it is being told by a halfling. Halflings the world over are familiar with this story. Since they revere Philibert as one of the few true heroes of their we'll use the word race. The tale is often recounted in taverns. Yes, Iron Hill Mountains is redundant, but that's the name, and I'm sticking with it. Folk, by the way, is a term I use to refer to all of the major sentient races. Humans, dwarves, elves, halflings, goblins, gnomes, and possibly a few others. It's folk as opposed to monsters. I'm mentioning that it's told in taverns. Why would you tell this in taverns? Because it involves a lot of drinking. So that'll probably do for that. Are there variations? The general or the major of the tale be consistent in the retelling all across and among all of the folk. This consistency is one of the factors he suggests the tale is true. At least that it recounts an event that actually happened. The details of the story, however, the exact terms of agreement between human and dwarves, whether the human was drinking wine or mead, oh, actually, let's do it this way. I want to get a little side joke in here, a little dwarf joke coming up. The details of the story, however, the exact terms, such as the exact terms of the agreement between humans and dwarves, have been to vary in the retelling. Common set of variations also revolve around human king was drinking wine or mead. All versions. Is that stereotypical enough for folks? And lots of it. Leave that for now. Cultural reception. How is it perceived? Okay. Among the humans of the First Kingdom and the dwarves, the Iron Hills delve. This tale, or the focus, upon their leaders, and the ongoing importance of their agreement. The alliance that was formed still strong. Tale serves to remind all. Among the halflings, wherever on Carterian they might be, this tale tells of the cunning and wisdom of one of their own. How a diminutive halfling could persuasion and a gift of eloquence and a magical item or two. Convenient magical item. Tells how a diminutive halfling could, by the power of persuasion, a gift of eloquence, and a convenient magical item, prevent two armies from clashing. This is a tale tell their children hopes that they'll aspire That should cover that. In literature, in art, you know what? I'm going to leave those out for now. See how the article looks without them. Definitely not sure what I'm going to do with the dates. I could go onto my timeline and figure out where these are actually gonna, where this event actually allegedly happened. But I can do that in the off in between time too. Come on, come back. Thank you. Now, before I forget, let us save. Always save. And let's see how it looks so far. So I need to find a picture of Philibert's flagon, and that picture will get used both here and in the item article. Like I said, I am going to have to put that. I am going to have to go back and figure out where on the timeline to put those dates. Let's see. All right, we have enough of a vignette to make it past the drop cap. I'd probably want to make that a little bit longer, but not too much. Still need a good opening quote. I need to put something in so I can at least get some pop-ups on the First Kingdom and the Iron Hills Delve. There's the item. You can see it actually started to put in what I have in there for in my vignette. Let's see, historical basis. I need some names. Spread of the story, variations and mutation, cultural reception. That'll probably be enough to tell this tale in light of this of this world. So I need to put in a few dates. I need to come up with a few names, and that will basically be it. So I'm starting to draw a bit of a blank. I think I'm definitely going to finish this article today, but I might actually take a few minutes and get back to it. I think what I'm going to do, I have a good 45 minutes left before we'll be raiding. I think there might be 2 people that we have to choose from when raid time comes along. By the way, I know Hefe is one of them, but I think somebody else might be up this afternoon as well. I'm going to have to do something that I really, really hate to do, though. I'm going to leave you guys with music for about 2 minutes. I have to jump away for just 2 minutes to take care of something that came up here that I was hoping I could put off until I finished my stream. Please don't leave. Like I said, I will be right back. And when I get back, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to pull an article or 2. So in the meantime, I don't believe there's a restriction for you guys to put up links. But if anybody has an article that they want me to walk through here on the stream, pop up a link to it, or at least pop up the name of it, and we'll go hunting for it. And we'll have about 40 minutes or so. I'll try to get we'll try to get one or two articles through and see if we can get some commentary in on them. If anybody has any other questions about, advice or either technical advice or even, yeah, that's right, Songbird. Yeah, you got 5-minute jail for putting a link in. I don't believe I have activated. I have just turned on MooBot for the first time, but I did not activate any of the filters. So you should be able to include links. So hopefully that will be the case. So like I said, I'm going to pop you guys off to a be right back screen. I will be back in a minute or 2 or 3 at the most. And when I get back, we'll start looking at what's going on. Okay, I am back. So let's see. Okay, DM Stretch ran for a bio break. Good, good, good. Yes, hello DM Stretch. Thank you for coming. And thank you for the follow. Ooh, now that was supposed to pop up automatically and it didn't. So I'm going to have to play with my bots. I'm new to this streaming thing, by the way. This is stream number 3 of all time for me. So I'm just kind of getting into these things. As I mentioned, I'm still having some issue getting my background music up. I can make the music play, but the attributions that are supposed to be popping up automatically are not. Anybody that can help me with that, I'll appreciate it. If I just got a follow, I should have actually gotten a little notification someplace that I did. I'll play with all that stuff later, though. I'm not going to kill any time. So does anybody have an article that they would like me to take a look at? Because I will go hunting. Let me bring up the Songbird has one. Okay. Let's bring up summer camp. All right, Songbird, which article do you have? What prompt? Let's see if we can find it in the list. There's only between 180 and 300 articles, so it should be easy to find. Repurposed building, okay. Let's see how many repurposed buildings we have in here. Oh, that's the one that was the administrative building. Yeah, let's see how that came out. Now we just have to look for Songbbird's name. Ah, there we have a link for it. Okay. All right, let's see what happens if we hit the link. So you didn't get banned for putting the link in. Okay. Okay, the Council Hall by Songbird. The Council Hall building stirs up feelings of hope, fear, curiosity, and anger among the various Saltmarsh community members. Children are enthralled by the loose noose strings on the west side of the building, which smugglers look upon with discreet apprehension. As the only government building in Saltmarsh, this building serves as a gathering for weekly council meetings, royal decrees, holiday celebrations, and the occasional execution. The weather-beaten iron bell on the east side of the building can officially be rung by anyone, but the task, you probably want a "the" in there. I'm going to throw some grammar comments in here as well, but The task or that task traditionally falls upon the senior-most council member. Architecture. Actually, let's jump across. Purpose, weekly council meetings, royal decrees. That's okay. That's that list. This is good in the sidebar, though. Ancient dwarven temple to the god of the hunt was its legacy. Construction. Built during the first stage. It looks like you were trying to key value pair that construction. Is that true? I see that the four hyphens, and the way this is just hanging here kind of leads me to believe that okay. You need to, first of all, there needs to be two hyphens in between construction and built during the first stage, and make sure there's some sort of spacing between, or even a break between the legacy hyphens and the construction hyphens. That should take care of that. The other question I have while you're in there, did you intend this stuff to be in the sidebar panel or above the sidebar? I assume this beige box is your sidebar panel. So if that is your sidebar panel and you want to put these things in the sidebar, kind of make them stand a little farther out from the rest of the article, you might want to just pick that whole mess up, and instead of being in sidebar top, put it in sidebar content panel top. And that should be easy enough to take care of that. Let's go back over to the article. Architecture. While a few visitors in Saltmarsh have little reason to visit the council hall, those that walk by often comment on the distinctive awning. Members of the sequestered dwarven population recognize the faded awning etches sacred markings used in rituals and carved into high-ranking dwarven military ships, and see this appropriation as another example of the town's vulgarity. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I know you had that in there originally, and I like that whole, you know, they're taking over our symbols and they don't even know what they mean, and you reinforce that with this quote, which is really, really good. That, my young friend, is what happens when someone stupid discovers something priceless. They treat it like it's useless. One day they will see the true might of those symbols crashing down upon them. Until then, keep your pickaxe close and sharp. And that's from Dallardayan Great Brewer to his niece Gifrora. Like I said, using a quote to reinforce the concept that the dwarves are not thrilled is a nice mechanism. I really like it. History. The original structure was built by a dwarven community at the end of the first age. This is the new stuff. Established as the temple of the god of the hunt of war. Does the god have a name? Has the name been lost to time? If it has a name, you should probably mention it. You could, however, like I said, you could even use the, you know, it was established to the god of the hunt and war, and actually mention that his name is forgotten if you don't want to come up with a name. So you can go either way with that. Yeah, it was used primarily for religious ceremonies, including the rite of passage for young warriors. As part of the ceremony, each initiate would trace the sacred etchings along the awnings. The handle of their weapon, while their sponsors, usually parents, placed their hands on the initiate's back. This symbolized the strength that the warrior can draw upon from their ancestors. I like it. And it gives meaning to the symbols, which you made reference to earlier. It was one of only 3 structures that survived the Great Destruction in the early Second Age as a result of the immense devastation. You might want to mention it survived, but if I'm not mistaken, it barely survived. So you might actually even want to throw that in. You know, it was one of only 3 structures that survived, though it it was a close call or something like that. Because you then go on to talk about the immense devastation. Most of the community was forced to abandon the town and return to their ancestral lands in the mountains. The few who chose to strengthen their ties to the Keelan Kingdom resettled in Port Tarban. The area fell into disrepair until it was resettled by a group of human fishermen searching for more fertile fishing grounds. Jean R. Kankleston, early in her tenure as the Carpenter's Guildmaster, rebuilt the Ashen Wood Stairway, an entrance after a devastating storm surge, weaving together salvageable pieces of the Salt Marsh wreckage and the ashen wood from the Hoole Marshes. This blending of damaged and durable wood pay homage to the traditional adage, "Alone you are broken, together we are one." I like the closing it down with a quote as well. All right, DM, have a good day. Glad you could stop by. Thanks for the follow. I'll be keeping an eye out for your next stream, and we'll see how that did. So yeah, I liked. Now we have that very little bit that you put in on the history. First of all, Songbird now it very, very clearly answers the challenge of the prompt to demonstrate that the building is repurposed. You explain up top what it's used for now. You explain in the history what it was used for before. Clearly, those purposes are very different. But you also bridged, not just the building itself, but the etchings on the building. You managed to get that in there, that, the etchings used to have one purpose. Now they just seem to be decorations, but to the dwarves who know better, they're symbols of power and history and ancestry and all that kind of good stuff. You get the whole struggle, or silent struggle maybe, between the dwarves and the humans, and you reinforce that a couple of different ways. I really, really like it now. I think you should be proud of this article. Before I do anything else, I am going to make sure I like it, and then I tell everybody else in the world that I like it. And because I do want to just see those last couple of changes, I'm going to even throw a follow in here so that I can know when you play with it. Very excellent work. Be proud of it. Keep going like that. That looked pretty good. All the changes are made. Oh, look at that. Look how quick that is. So if I refresh this, we should see a couple of tweaks. Oh, there we go. Okay, the sidebar is a little different. Yeah, I think that way, like I said, those things stand out. You like to do the same kind of thing I do. Yeah, the little bullet point, data about what you're writing about kind of lives in the sidebar, and the prose stuff tends to go to the other side. The only other suggestions, possibly, I don't know if you have any artwork, if you have any, and it doesn't have to be the building. Even do you have any idea what these etchings look like? Even if you maybe sketched out one or two of them and just included that as a graphic on the side. So that's one possibility. I mean, if you can, again, a picture. I don't know what your artistic ability or access to things are, but a picture of the building, is one possibility. Like I said, a few sketches of the etchings by themselves. That's something that would take up a little space. The other thing I've done is you could move some quotes around there. I wouldn't change where you have this quote. The quote that you have in here now reinforces the architecture section beautifully. If you wanted to come up with another generic quote or two, You could even throw a quote at the top of the sidebar, above the sidebar, um, you know, just to put a little visual variety in there too. I'm not sure what it would say. I mean, it could be almost anything. Um, I'm just coming up with ideas off the top of my head, the kind of things that I use to fill up the sidebar. I don't think there's much else. The other thing you could do, go back through the template and look and see if there are any of those, you know, small data items that you skipped over that you might possibly just throw into the sidebar. They'll either appear in the sidebar or they're on their own, or if you want a little more control about how they look, you can put them in the sidebar as key value pairs, like you did with the few that you have here. Again, that's just a possibility of how to lengthen the sidebar a little bit. It's not that far. You don't have to kill yourself in making sure that the two of them are completely perfectly the same size, by the way. A little bit of overhang in one direction or the other is not going to kill anybody. So you really don't need that much. If you could get, like I said, a good etching diagram would actually go a long way toward solving the open space problem. Because if you think about it, a square image in here is going to take you to almost here, and at that point, you're near the bottom of the article on both sides. You know, so maybe just that one, just a, you know, a sample of the etchings. Don't forget, even if you draw it yourself, put a little credit somewhere in the bottom of the article or whatever that says this is yours. You know, you drawn by me, for me, or something. So, like I said, good work. I think that came together nicely, and you know, we were talking about it last week, and basically that one little paragraph, you know, the original structure paragraph, you know, kind of finish the whole article. So, all right, what time is it? 11:43. I have time for one more. If somebody else has an article they want me to take a look at. Anybody? Scribe of Nakoti is getting something. The Homeward Door. Homeward Door. Okay, we have a sci-fi article. I do sci-fi too, so this should be fun. Okay, the Homeward Door. History. I assume, by the way, what prompt is this? Let me see if I can guess. No, it's geographic location. Okay, so it's a. This is your constellation, which is why there's a constellation map on the side. There we go. Okay, history. When the colony first got established on Deseret, many of the settlers were disappointed at the lack of recognizable constellations in the sky. In the absence of anything familiar in the heavens, the first priority for the new astronomers was establishing where in the night sky Earth was, and if its star Sol was visible. To the joy of many, not only was Sol visible in the night sky, but it was framed by an arch of other bright stars. The Deseret colonial government held a competition to come up with Deseret's first constellation. The winning entry was the Homeward Door, with the arch of stars forming the door frame, and Sol in the position of the door handle. I like it. Okay, who Who here knows what historical significance in the United States the term Deseret has? Let's see, Scribe to you. It's a good name, but it actually has some historical significance within the United States. Yes, the LDS community uses it, and that's because the state of Utah was originally going to be a much larger thing called Deseret, but it never quite happened that way. Okay. Oh, and Scribe says it's on purpose. Okay, good. The homeward door was submitted by Corinne Boutreau, a pediatrician. Her entry was selected out of a total of 3,034 others, in large part due to her short explanation that she submitted with her work. I think all of us are ecstatic to finally be here, but it can be hard thinking about all the friends and family we left behind. I grew up alone with my mother and Aunt Fleur. I can still see it so vividly. I can feel the ocean breeze as I run home from school. I can smell the bread I pick up from the bakery for our dinner. I can remember my mother silhouetted by the small window in our kitchen when I walk in the front door. I know my mother has been dead a long time. She was becoming an old woman when I left France. Old woman should be singular. You might just want to fix that typo. When I left France, she died at some point early on during our journey here. And even though my front door looks so different now, every time I come home from work, I expect to see her there in the kitchen, ready to hear about my day. When I first saw Saul and its companions, another pet peeve of mine, when I first saw Saul and its companions, you need to lose the apostrophe in that word its. That is one of the most common grammatical errors among English speakers, which is why it's a pet peeve of mine, I guess. Its companions, I immediately saw a door, and I imagined that if I could somehow open it, I would see my mother there waiting for me. If my entry is chosen, I hope it will serve as a reminder of all those we left behind. All right, I like the fact that you included the entry example. I'm trying to think back what exactly was the requirement. Was to just describe the constellation. I don't think there was anything special about it. So there were no twists or quirks like there were in some of the other ones. So that being the case, this one is nice and short and to the point, and that's a good thing. It tells a story. You have a sidebar over here. I'm guessing this black thing is a sidebar that just doesn't have anything in it. Okay, yeah. Describe an important celestial body. So you've certainly met the challenge. From a visual appearance standpoint, again, it's short enough that I'm not worried about the dead space here. The only thing I am worried about is this empty box that I'm sure is your side panel that you probably can't make go away entirely, which means you're going to need to think of something to put. I don't know what. I have a suggestion. You could make up the names of the 5 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars that form the constellation, and in the section, you go to the sections tab, and in the content top or content bottom, you can put in a little blurb. You could either use headers or a key value pair or something, but put in something in there, because that's what's going to fill up this gap. That's what's going to appear in this box. So that way, like I said, you can, obviously you know the name of one of the stars. You could make up names of the other ones. I don't know if you want to bother with that or not, but That's just one thought. I mean, you might be able to come up with something else entirely different. But you probably want to have something in the sidebar just so that you don't have this black hole thing. I mean, you have this 2001 monolith thing sitting here underneath your constellation that the template is causing and that you can't do anything about. Other than that, I wouldn't change a thing. Like I said, it's direct, it's to the point, it describes the prompt. Everything else is good. Let me give it a like, and let me give it a follow, because those things are both cool to have. And okay, if I refresh it, I can see the change. Okay, so let me do a quick refresh, and we'll see what we got. All right, that works. You could try that. Yeah, just use it as the title. All right, you took care of its. By the way, a little trick that I learned a long time ago for that its which form of its do you use? IT'(s) is the contraction for it is. So, you know, if you can replace the word it's with the words it is, then it needs to have the apostrophe in it. ITS without the apostrophe is the possessive. And the little mnemonic device that I use to remember which one is which is the sentence, it doesn't own the apostrophe. Alright, so it does not own the apostrophe. So if you're using its as a possessive, like you are here, then no apostrophe. So hopefully that'll help. I put that on Facebook about once every 3 weeks when I get tired of seeing people mispost with that. Okay, now we're just killing another couple of minutes before we go a rating. So, how many more articles, Scribe, do you have to finish up? Let's get back to where I was here. Oh, many, he says. Well, don't forget. I mean, as long as you know, I guess on the one hand, yeah, you still have the entire rest of the month to get done or to get caught up. On the other hand, of course, you know, if they pile up too much, then you're gonna start dreading getting back to this stuff when you get toward the end and you got 5 days to go and you have 30 articles to do. I know there's some people from the prior summer camps. This is my first summer camp, so there were some people from the prior camps that talked about how they happily, kind of held them all till the very end and did 30 articles in 5 days at the end of the week. Good morning, Lorraine. Yeah, I'm hoping, like I said, I got about 90% of what I wanted to get done today done on this stream with my myth article. There's a few things. Again, we went through it before, but I have a couple of names to make up. I have a couple of maybe a date or two to make up, and I want to still make up one or two details about exactly what the powers and abilities of the magical flagon are. I need to make that fit a little more in the fill a little more in the story. But once I've done that, the last article I have, my article number 10, is going to be the magic item itself, or the artifact, I should say, itself. And if I've got the myth written about it, the rest of the item article itself is going to be trivial. As far as physical description, all the physical description stuff I can knock off in no time flat. It looks like a big metal pitcher. You know, so I can, you know, spend a little time describing that. It's the special attributes of it, of course, that I just need to make sure are consistent with this story. So I have every expectation that by the time I put my head on a pillow tonight, and it is just before noon here in on the east coast of the U.S., before I put my head on a pillow tonight, I will have completed all 10 of my prompts. So, so I will be waiting with bated breath until 2 p.m. tomorrow, which is my local time, for when Janet and Timmy will be up with the announcement of the next 10 prompts. Which actually means I'll have some time tomorrow morning to get some other stuff done that I've been putting off all week because I've been busy getting prompts done. So, okay, so who are we going to raid today? Who are our choices? Let us see. It looks like it's either Hefe or Hefe, so... Unless you guys want to raid a Minecraft guy. I think we want to keep this in the World Anvil community. So we're going to raid Hefe. Alright. And you know what? I'm assuming he's up and running. Is he up and running? He's not up and running yet, is he? So do we want to raid him early? We could talk for a second or two, I guess, before I send everybody over there. I guess during that time, I first of all want to thank all of you folks for coming out here. If you haven't at least followed my channel, please do. I know all of us in the streaming community are trying very hard to get all of the streamers in World Anvil up to Twitch affiliate level. I have quite a ways to go, but I'll take any little bit that I can get. I would encourage anybody else, by the way, who's been thinking about using this whole summer camp thing as a way to try your hand at streaming. It's not that hard to get started, and this is the most wonderful community you could possibly imagine as far as help and acceptance to get going in it. This is not the big bad internet where they'll chop you up and spit you out, you know, for every little tiny mistake. So yeah, so is Hefe live? It looks like I'm seeing on his channel preview, he's still got his preview screen up. So I'm going to give him another few seconds, and if he doesn't appear, I'm going to send you all over there anyway. But what does affiliate level give people? At the very least, it gives us the ability to give you guys custom emotes, which I know last night WD Michael just made. He just hit affiliate level last night, thanks to again a lot of you folks that are here now. and he had a couple of custom emotes that he actually had waiting for the occasion. So that's one thing. It's the first of many long steps on the way to actually being able to gain some benefit, some financial benefit from things. Channel points. That's right. That's the other thing you can do is channel points. You'll notice on some of the bigger streams, there's a little thing on the bottom that it gives you, you accumulate points and you can use them to highlight your messages or throw other emotes around or that sort of thing. So yeah, all of that stuff. Basically, you get opportunities to interact more with your following when you're an affiliate. And then there are higher levels up beyond that. So, all right. Well, Heffy looks like he's running a little late. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna launch the raid now anyway. If he's there, great, and if he's not, then you're all gonna get to look at his summer camp starting soon screen. So again, thank you all for joining me. I will be streaming again on Saturday during the same time slot. So on Saturday, we'll have a chance to start playing with some of the whole new prompts. And until then, keep the forges lit. And by the way, when you get over there into Heffy's channel and he actually starts reacting, someone needs to go before Bob so that I have reason to get up early. I know some of the times Isaac takes a slot before me. I don't know if she is on Saturday. So anyway, okay, are we doing Ganbate again, or are we going to just do Light the Forges? I'll leave that up to you guys. Pick one, use both. And thank you again all for coming, and raid starts now.